maybe I should tell you about when we first started hang gliding here. We'd been in Banff National Park. Well, he had been flying for quite some time, and there was a restaurant there called Felici's, Italian. We used to go down there and eat. He was very big on good restaurant food. And so the owner of Felici's asked him to put Felici's name on his hang glider for the Banff Winter Carnival, which was in February. And this is probably 1971. And he'd be flying from the top of Norquay and landing at the bottom of the lift. And so he thought this was a great idea. So he had this bright red glider and he stuck Felici's on both. Didn't say restaurant. Well, anyway, there's a rule in Banff National Park that you can't advertise. And when you do advertise, the sign has to be a certain size. So needless to say, he got evicted from Banff National Park because of his flying billboard. So we were driving back that Sunday afternoon and we came past this hill and he thought, now that would be a good hill to run off. A number of years ago, we got a knock on the door one night and it was two army guys, dressed in uniform. And they asked if they could put a communication outpost here in our yard and behind the house. And we thought maybe one vehicle because they'd done that once before. And they asked permission. They said that they were going to do a 24-hour maneuver, and they wanted permission to be in the back here and use it for communications. And they really liked the fact that we had an outhouse. I thought that was very good. Never thought much about it. So they said, well, they'd be around 6 o'clock the next night, and I think it was November, so 6 o'clock it was dark. Be there 6 o'clock the following night, and then the following night they'd be all gone by 6 o'clock also. So following night at 6, we kind of forgot. They didn't knock on the door, and then Willie went out and came back and said he couldn't believe what he saw. It was a full-blown operation out there, and they had camouflage netting all over our back field with many, many vehicles and trucks underneath, and a whole crew of soldiers. And the next morning, at 5 o'clock, when I left to take Chris, he used to swim at Killarney Pool, go 5 o'clock in the morning. So we drove out at 5 o'clock, and there was an armed guard at the end of the driveway. And then the school bus actually had to turn there, and I guess there was quite a discussion on the school bus about what was happening on our driveway, why we had a sentry. And the newspaper delivery man called that day to ask if we were having problems with theft, that somebody might be stealing our newspaper because we had an armed sentry at the end of the driveway. But the G8 certainly did interrupt our business, yes. It was the best flying week of the year. We were only allowed to fly off the hill and to the bottom until the G8, and then we were grounded for the whole week. But we used to sit here that week and sit on the deck, and you could see the jets going up and down the valley. It was such a weird, because the planes are flying all the time, but there's no sound. Then all of a sudden the jets would go together would go up and down. Yeah, it was bizarre. And then we had a visit from a couple of other Army personnel, and they were asking questions about if people rented a hang glider or a paraglider and hiked up a mountain, if they could fly in at Kananaskis. And Chris said, well, I've attended competitions all over the world, and I've never yet encountered any top pilots from any of the countries that you'd have to worry about. And it's not something you can just learn in a few minutes or take a few lessons and then go fly off a mountain. Plus you've got all the weather conditions to worry about as well. And besides, we don't rent. We provide equipment for lessons, but we don't rent anything. So, and then we had them pick up a hang glider, then pick up a paraglider, and Chris says, so if you factor those things in, the weight of those, plus you add your explosives, it isn't too feasible. So they left, and that was the end of that.